Welcome to the Sports Hangover. I'm Michael Benatar, and today, very special guest. We have Sam Gaffon. We're talking some NFL picks. How you doing, Sam?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, Sam. It's been a while since you've been on the pod. I feel like it's been like 5 years, something like that.
I was thinking about that. When was the inception date? Because that was the
Uh,
last time I was on.
that was 2010, so it's been 14 years. So glad to have you back.
It's been a minute. I was
Uh,
prepping. I was getting ready
yeah, you're getting ready.
for my return.
Sam has you have weird knowledge of football players. Maybe you don't watch a lot of football, but you know like weird stats about players, like their height and weight, right?
I watch a lot of football.
You're
I
like a
have the
savant,
Sunday
right?
ticket. I am kind of a savant in certain ways when it comes to numbers. I used to be able to name like every player, whether in the college, height, weight, 40 time, bench press.
Which is weird. Yeah. Yeah.
Not so much anymore, but my analytical mindset has now taken to sports gambling.
Okay. All right. Sam, you're doing good. You're 22 and 18 for the season, which is good. You're doing great. You're up there. You're top 10. You're doing really good. It really annoys me because everybody's doing so well. And me and a mutual friend, Tony, are in another contest. We're in second place with the same record. We're 23 and 17 in another league. We're in second place. And in this league, people are insane. I don't know how people are doing so well in this league. So first, before we start, I want to know what your process is when you pick your teams every week.
So I think it's a combination of numerical analysis, just like in financial markets, intuition.
Okay. All right. So elaborate on your financial model. Do you have a model of the players, or what do you do?
I think I go by. I mean, there's some intuitive pieces to it,
Some
but
vibes.
I think what makes our league that we're probably referencing a little unique is that the spreads are locked.
Correct. Yeah. The spreads lock on Tuesday. They go up, and then you have a week to kind of decide on what to do. They move. Some move in the right direction. Some move in the wrong direction.
So I think a lot of times you can go and check the books, the major books, see what the spreads are at, which way they're going compared to what our book is at, and find value or games that are over or undervalued.
Now, do you, because I want to, we have to have somebody do this, but I feel like none of the lines that we've taken in this game have even come close to the lines. Like only a few games have ever landed even close to the line, right? Because we get half points. So they're not true lines. They don't want ties in this league. We could do ties, but we decided not to. So it's just half points. So none of them land on a 3 or a 6 or an 8 or any key numbers. So it's a 2.5 or a 3.5. It's never the 3.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Well, it makes it easier.
Yeah, it's definitely easier. Yeah,
because you would push on more games.
For my process, we're going to go through some games. We're going to talk about them, and I'll explain how my savant mind works.
All right, Sam. Let's see how does your savant mind work? What is the one game you're looking at right now? What's your first game?
First game is an interesting one. New England, Washington.
I have that game too.
Do you?
I do have that game. Yeah. So what side are you on?
There's a lot going on with it.
I agree. There's a lot going on with it.
So right away, I mean, we heard the news this week. Washington traded away their 2 best pass rushers. So I would think the morale in that locker room probably isn't the greatest, especially since their only pass rusher just made his statement last week how much he hates it there and how tired he is of their losing.
Yeah.
So I think morale's a little bad. Rivera is an old school defensive coach who is probably a good locker room guy, but not a great coach when it comes to strategy and offense.
Riverboat Ron.
Which is literally the opposite of his opponent.
So you're on New England. I'm on Washington on this one. I like Washington. I think, I don't know what the stat is. There's some trend, but it's like when players get traded away, big key players, I feel like your team fights the year after, like the next game after. Who's the coach that got fired last? Oh, remember in Indy, who was that coach? Frank Wright came in and everybody's like, oh, this guy's like off the street. He's just on TV. No one knows what he's doing. And he coached the game. They won or something like that. Like he got fired and somebody came in. And I think this is not similar. Like there's another game like that, like the Raiders, but I feel like Washington will fight hard, keep it close. And I think it feels like they want you to take New England, and I don't want to take a team. I feel like no one is going to take Washington this week. And I feel like that's where value is.
I think the value is the other way around. I mean, our book is at 2.5.
Yep.
This is a perfect opportunity for New England to step up. It's in New England.
It is in New England.
I have a stat for you on this game as well.
Oh, let's see. What's the stat, Sam?
So QBs in their first 10 career starts on the road against Belichick.
Okay, this is not
5-31.
He's not a rookie though, right?
It's his first year starting. No, first 10 career starts, not
first
rookie.
10 career start. Okay, okay.
So I like to look at for stats like that, trend lines, stats. I mean, look, Belichick. Most of these stats are when he had Brady, so it's a little skewed. But Sam Howell's been very up and down. I mean, he's had some great games. He's had some terrible games. New England's defense is a little banged up, but Belichick is a strategist, and he tends to make a lot with nothing when he needs to.
The problem with trends, you always find a trend that's like in favor of your bet because it helps you make the decision to like, oh yeah, we got to do this bet. I like them, but sometimes I need more than like 3 or 4 to convince me that this is the right side. I just felt like Washington defense still could be good without those two key players, right? They could still step up. They could still play well. The whole defense was controlling Philadelphia. They played well against Philadelphia. They kept up with them. They could score. I know Sam Howell's up and down, but he can score. Mac Jones just can't move the ball. So I feel like if I'm getting 2.5 points, now I think it moved to like 3.5. I'd much rather take that. So it is like a weird middle spot. Like I could go both ways because at 2.5, we're saying somebody's going to win by a field goal.
I would take Washington if it was 3.5, but our book's at 2.5.
It is at 2.5.
That's the value to me in New England.
I know, but it's also the home field, so I get it. I'm going to stick with Washington on my pick, but I like it, Sam. That's good. I'm glad you're on the same game. All right,
with Trash Jones.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. All right, I'm gonna play a side in Germany this weekend. They're playing at 6 a.m. our time. I feel like this game could go either way, but the one stat I like, Miami arrived in Germany on Monday. They arrived in Germany on Monday. Kansas City, guess what? It is Thursday. We're recording this on a Thursday night, right before Thursday Night Football. Kansas City, still not in Germany. Now, we've been overseas.
I didn't know that. I thought they were getting in today.
No, they're getting in on Friday. Now, traveling overseas is not easy. You got to sleep. You got to rest. I feel like this is a perfect spot for Miami to win the game, well rested, adjusted by a weekend. You're adjusted. You're ready to go. You're sleeping right. The first 2 nights when you're in Europe, you don't sleep. So I'm betting my whole thing in theory on why Miami will win and getting 2.5 points in Germany just on when they arrive. Whoever arrived first, I'm going with. And look at Jacksonville. They were in London for 2 weeks. They won every game.
That's true. That's a good stat.
Were you on anybody else?
I'm not betting this game,
okay,
but I would, if I were to bet, I would bet Kansas City.
Why would you bet?
They're firing on all cylinders. They're healthy. The D is playing great. Offense is playing great. Miami, I think, already peaked a little bit. They're still a great team, but they're a little banged up. I think they're missing some running backs.
They're missing a running back. What about like last week, Kansas City playing in Denver, the snow game, even though it didn't snow during the game, and then also
Patty had the kid flu.
He had the flu.
It was a rough game for him.
Also, Travis, the thing that scares me too, Travis Kelce's been going out more and more, and I don't like when my players are out drinking midweek before a football game. Now, I bet against Atlanta when they were in London because I saw the coach the night before on like a Pat McAfee call drinking in a pub, and I was like betting against them. You're not getting ready. You're not game time. This is what I want you to do.
This is a big game. This is like one of the biggest games for the AFC for the year, especially where it's at with the records, middle of the season.
Yeah. Wouldn't you want to take the points? You don't want the points. You're going to give up the 2.5 points. I mean, it's probably not going to end on 2.5 anyways. It's probably going to be
Kansas City's a way better team. Sorry, not way better, a better team. And if it was 3, maybe I would side with 3.5, maybe Miami. But I think the value is in Kansas City at 2.5.
The value is there. So me and Tony put together a little sheet here, and we have perceived line at -3.5. So that means we're getting 1 point of value on Kansas City. But I think that's also because I reduce that home field advantage. So if you reduce, let's say home field advantage is 1.5.
There's really no home field advantage.
No, not here, but in general, our like little data sheet says if you're on the home side, you get 1.5 extra for home field advantage. So if we remove that, I would say the value's on Miami. So I'm going to Miami. I just think it's a better way. Listen, it is hard to pick these games, and I don't know how you guys are doing it. It must be easier. I talked to Tony. I talked to him on Mondays. I talked to him on Wednesdays, and then I talked Friday and then Sunday morning. And we talked for a total of almost 4 hours a week trying to figure out what picks we're going to do. And everybody else out here in the league is just randomly picking, be like, oh yeah, that's a better team.
I don't know how other people are doing it, but I'm putting a good amount of time into it. I mean, I think the injury report and checking who's practicing and if they're at full practice, they didn't practice. That's a big contributor.
Especially Sunday mornings, because you're really getting a lot of that info Sunday morning.
Especially on the edge, like this game. Like I'm citing Kansas City, but I would be in between. I'm not betting it, but I would be checking the injury report day of on Sunday. Right. Well, I guess I mean this is a Europe game, so it's you really got to do it Saturday.
You got to do it Saturday. All right, who you got for your next game?
My home dogs.
Home dogs. Who are you going
from
with?
Tampa, if everyone doesn't know that. So obviously, I'm very disturbed about betting Tampa because I feel like I have a mental bias. And I think I bet them a good amount, and I'm 50-50. I mean, I actually bet against them last week and got fucked. They did not. Buffalo should have covered that.
The ref fucked you by getting 60 yards of.
That was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. But I think Baker hopefully steps up. He's had a couple bad weeks. He started off hot, started off great.
Yep.
Last 2 weeks have been rough. I think the offense has turned around. I think the way they utilized Rashad changed a lot last week. The first 7 weeks of the season, they played him like he's a power back straight up the middle, like it was Leonard Fournette again. But he's the opposite of that. He's more of a receiving back. He's shifty. He's good in open space. He had like 7 receptions or something. He was way more effective, had almost like 100 scrimmage yards. The offense didn't play great because Baker missed a ton of throws. But I think he finally steps up, plays well. We were out Vita Vea, the anchor of our defense, against Buffalo last week. He practiced fully already throughout the week. He comes back. Houston, I like CJ. I think he's great, but I think the book's out on him now. I think the defensive teams have figured out what he's doing. He hasn't played great the last couple weeks either. So I think Tampa, our D's going to step up, and Baker steps up a little bit. We win this game easy.
Yeah, I feel like your D, the Bucks D is pretty good. I mean, they slowed down Buffalo pretty well. Like
they've
you
can
get anything going.
They've been pretty solid all year.
On this game, this was one of the games I was going to talk about. It was kind of an extra one on here, but I liked Houston. I found there was like a point of value. I feel like a lot of teams might be out on them after last week, or a lot of people might be out on them after they lost to Carolina. It looked bad. We know Carolina's bad. Honestly, this is a game I probably don't even want to watch because it's going to probably be pretty sloppy. I didn't like what I saw from Baker. He seems a little nervous in the pocket. He seems undecided on throws. And that's the one thing I like about CJ. It seems like he can make the decision quick and get it out. And that's what I didn't see with Baker, which worries me.
I'm really impressed with CJ this year. He's really good. He's got a quick release, super accurate. He's making a lot with really some young receivers that are, I mean, they're good, but like Nico Collins, these are brand new guys. Tank Dell, they've been playing well though. But I think Baker just needs some confidence, needs to step up. The line has to obviously hold up better. We need to get the run game going. But the run has really struggled the last couple of weeks. And what I saw last week really changed is that they utilized Rashad better. So whether, they don't have to run him that much. I mean, if they can get him out in open space with some screens, with some tosses, with some dump offs, that'll utilize it the same. So as long as they can get some 3, 5, 8 yard plays going the first, second downs, it'll relieve Baker of having to try to make these miraculous throws at 20, 30 yards.
Yeah, these games are tough too because they're all like 2.5 points, right? It's not like we're talking about 4 points because it might sway you to another side. But yeah, you're saying they're
Houston, their biggest the book is out on CJ. I think they know his weaknesses now, but the other side of it, they can't get the run game going. So it's putting a lot of pressure on him, and they're putting him in a lot of like long distance third downs, which is not where you want to put a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, these 2.5s are tough too because you want them to win the game, and you're hoping they win by a field goal. And that's the tough part about 2.5, because if you lose by a field goal, it doesn't happen often when you're going to win by 2, unless somebody goes for an extra point, another extra point. But it is a tough spread. This week it was tough. Like, there were other games too. Like, I really wanted to play New Orleans, but I don't know if I can pull the trigger on it just because it's 7.5 points and their car is terrible.
He's bad in the red zone. You notice that?
He's just bad. He's a bad
statistically, he's really bad in the red zone. I saw a stat the other day. Like, he's like less than 50%. Like, it's insane.
Yeah,
they've looked better. They got a good D. They've looked better. You know, Kamara's back, firing at all cylinders. I don't know. It's too many points though. That's a lot. They're not that good.
All right. My last game that I wanted to talk about. I am on Seattle getting 5.5 points in Baltimore. I think this is totally, the public's going to be on Baltimore. I'm on Seattle. I don't know when a team has so many wins is such a big underdog. So it just made me think, what is going on here? Baltimore's not as good as they appear. And sure, they've beaten good teams, but they've also lost to good teams. And they also let Arizona come back after they were up 30 to whatever.
They've been a little up and down, but when they've been good, they've been really good.
Sure. But Seahawks, they've been consistent. It's like they're scoring points. They're playing good defense. They just got some new offensive line guys, defensive guys. I think they're making a run for it. They're doing great in the division.
They're changing a little bit too. The Chardonnay has been getting a lot more action. So
I think Walker's hurt. I think something's wrong with him.
I mean, that was bound to happen. But he's probably banged up.
But yeah, I just like Seahawks this week, and I'm getting the 5.5. I wish it was 6. But I'm playing Seahawks.
You have a little bias with Seattle, though, don't you?
I do. I mean, I didn't want to play it at first. In the initial, I have notes. Monday, I write down teams I like, and I was on the Ravens. And then by midweek, I'm like, you know what? I think Seahawks is the right way. And I have this, I use Action Network to look at where all the money is, which also is a pain because it really sways my decision sometimes when I look at a game. But if I see the tickets and the money are on one side, it scares me off of it. So it's like the Dolphins and the Chiefs. There's 95% of the money and 79% of the tickets on Chiefs, which it's almost like I have to play Miami.
They're kind of getting a real home field. They're getting a home field advantage, essentially.
I guess
those rowdy Europeans drinking all that beer. They're going to be.
It's supposed to be windy there too. It's going to be. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I like Seattle.
That's another factor. The weather.
Yeah, but
it's about the wind.
It's a dome, a semi-dome, so it kind of comes up, and there's going to be 17 mile per hour winds. So how will it really affect throwing? Probably not
on
much.
The field.
It says 17 mile per hour winds outside. I don't know if it's going to affect I think it will more affect field goals than anything because you'll get those gusts.
Yeah, I don't think you get much wind ground level.
No,
maybe so. Not to affect the throwing area.
What's your third game, Sam? Who you got?
My guy Burrow, he's back.
Oh man. Okay. What do you got? Tell me why you like him.
I mean, if you watched him play the last 2 weeks, it's pretty obvious. He's back 100%. He's moving around way better. He's making throws in confidence. He's way more accurate. I mean, their defense is playing well. The offense is firing. Joe's getting space and making plays. I mean, they're looking like one of the best teams in the AFC like they were last year.
So the problem for me is when you look at Cincinnati, they're good. But when I see that happen and then it's okay, they're favored, they're at home, it makes me think everybody else is thinking the same way. Like that recency bias. We just saw them play really well. We saw Buffalo not really perform really well against Tampa. And it makes me think I feel like I have to take Buffalo to play this game because I lean Buffalo, but I don't know if I'm going to play it this week. But it just seems like
are you not 2.5? That's not a lot of points.
I know, but are you not?
That just did not look that great against Tampa.
Yeah,
the defense is missing in action and injured, and that's not changing. The biggest thing I saw, because obviously I watched every play of that game last week. I'm a big Josh fan, but he's a dual threat quarterback, young in his career, and this tends to happen where the coaches, I think, push quarterbacks like this to start running less to avoid injuries.
Sure.
But what makes him great is his running ability. And you kind of saw in that game, the first half, he was running a lot, actually. which Tampa didn't really realize. They didn't game plan for. He was making plays, and they went up big in the first half. But then he got banged up when one of our DNs caught him, and he went back to the tent. And you could see a look on his face when he went down that he got scared.
Yeah,
and if you run scared, you make mistakes and get hurt.
So are you not scared that, yes, they look bad, Cincinnati looked good? Because we've seen it in the NFL. You see a team look really bad.
Joe's confused. Josh is not Joe, sorry. Josh is confused on what kind of quarterback he needs to be. Yeah. And I think he's now scared to run, to get hurt or make mistakes. And he's not going to play with the same confidence. Their D is banged up and bad, and they're playing against a team that's firing on all cylinders.
All right. I would lean Buffalo. I'm not going to play this game. I feel like there's too much. This is the last time they played since tomorrow, right? Like this was the last game where they're in Cincinnati where it happened last year in December. Sometime around then. I don't know. It seems like a big game. I'm going to get off of it. It's Sunday Night Football. I don't like these big like primetime games. I almost like the Miami KC one because barely the West Coast is not going to see it. Who's waking up at 5:30 to go watch the game?
Yeah, they may not watch it live, but they'll watch it. That's a big game.
It's daylight
prime
savings.
Time. Talking about prime time. Joe likes the prime time.
Oh, Joe does. You have stats on Joe prime time?
No, not stats wise. You just he likes the attention. he likes playing when everyone's watching.
I was gonna see if I had any stats on him. I don't have any stats on.
I only dive into the stats more when I'm undecided. This was a clear game to me. Cincinnati 2.5 on our book.
I do have a stat for Burrow. Here's a stat. Burrow is 17-8 ATS as an underdog, and he's 15-2 against the spread when 3 or more as an underdog. So he's not an underdog here.
Yeah, he's not an underdog.
He's not an underdog, but I'm just throwing that stat out there.
But 2.5 is not much. Like our book is 2.5.
Sure, but you're deciding who the winner is in a sense, right? Like the game is not going to end on 2. It could end on 2, but it's not likely. It's going to probably end on 3 or something like that. So if it ends, you're just deciding a winner. And deciding winners is really hard too, because you could do those pick 'em pools where you pick a winner every week, and it's a lot harder than you think when you start seeing all these weird teams, like Chicago beat random teams and Indy beat random teams. Yeah, I don't know. It's a really, really tough week with all the 2.5s. We're recording Thursday night. It's like an hour, 2 hours before kickoff. Who do you have tonight in the game? Tennessee and Pittsburgh.
I was almost putting this game in. And I had like an instinct, and I had some stats.
You had
I thought about it more, and then I was like, I cannot bet on Mitch Trubisky.
No,
but I like Pittsburgh in this game.
Is Mitch playing though? I thought what's his name was in.
It's the backup. Is it Mitch Trubisky?
No, I know, but I thought Mitch wasn't playing tonight. I thought it was. I can't think of his. Why can't I think of his name? The starter, the fucking starter for Pittsburgh. What?
I thought he's out. He's hurt, isn't he?
I thought he might play tonight. That's what Tony was telling me. You know, he's a Steeler diehard. He was telling me they might be in.
He would know. I thought Mitch is the starter tonight.
If Mitch is the starter, I'd take Tennessee.
Either way, neither of their quarterbacks are that great. And Tennessee, I think, is overhyped, especially with a rookie having a great game first week, getting lucky. I don't know. Pittsburgh's defense is one of the best in the league. They're in Pittsburgh. I think our book has 3, right? Our book is at 3. That's good value.
I think it's at 2.5. I think. But yeah, I mean, it is
2.5. I put down the big books are at 3, so that there's some value there.
Yeah, if you want to play them, it's definitely. It's a messy game. It's a terrible Thursday night football game too, with 2 backup quarterbacks in. It's not good, or it could be future starter for Tennessee. Who knows? Because I don't think
Levis will be. Levis will be good. I'm sure he'll be decent, but he's a rookie. He just got exposed last week for the first time. Like. A lot of the Ds don't know what they're getting into the first week with a quarterback like that no one's ever seen. So now Pittsburgh has film on him. He only kind of looked on the clips I saw. He only really looked good in the unexpected plays, like when they're expecting run and he threw the ball. But so he had like some sporadic plays where he looked good when the defense was like caught off guard. So now Pittsburgh's got some film on them. Pittsburgh is one of the best Ds in the league. They have probably one of the best pass rushes, one of the best players. J.J. Watt's probably one of the best defensive players in the league. Home field, 2.5 points. I think the defense just wins it. But they still have to score some points. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Is Mitch going to score more than 14 points?
I don't know. He's not too good. But yeah, I also feel like last week they were like split between Malik and Willis to play, right?
I don't know going in, but yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough week. A lot of close lines. Sam, thanks for coming on. Everybody check out sportshangover.com. Go buy some swag. We have the holiday sweaters up. I don't have it behind me, but it's a great
hoodie. It's my favorite hoodie. It's like one of those cheap Chinese hoodies that you just love.
It's not a Chinese hoodie, Sam. It is high quality hoodies. Okay.
It's one of my favorite hoodies. Still.
Good. I'm glad you wear it. Good. Thanks for coming on the pod. See ya.